So as we all know, the Steam Deck has reached its limits, and it's having a hard time with a couple of games at this point, and it can't hold a stable 30. So for today, we're going to go ahead and test out the ROG Ally in those same games and see how it keeps up. First game, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and again, at 900p, low settings. Here we go with that. No RT, of course. There we go. This game is weird because it loves to play at 4K and turn on RT on your first boot. It was playing at 3 FPS in the menus. Took me a while to get to the settings and change it all back. But should be fine now though. And of course for the VRAM, I'm using 6 gigs and again 30 watts. So the plan was to play at 900p for this one, but this game is just so intensive that I think it's best fit to play at 720p. Our first stop will be in the city. This is the main area that's causing the Steam Deck to have issues. It's just far too stuttery, it freezes, and the FPS falls below 30 FPS. And on the ROG Ally, it is pretty similar to be honest. It does stutter, it does fall below 30 FPS. It isn't great. I think it's smoother in some areas in the city, but again it does freeze, it does stutter, it is just not that good. So yeah, first game, we're off to a bad start, so hopefully our second one, we can do better. But before we leave, let's go ahead and go to a second area, a more normal level, and see how we handle it over there. The stutters are still here, hopefully it does go away. Can I use the zip line here? I don't think so, right? I gotta walk up. Yeah, looks like it. And yeah, it's definitely far smoother, and it feels far more playable, that's for sure. And it froze again. Nice. So let's go and back out, move on to our second game, and see how we go. For our second game, we're playing Alan Wake 2 at 100p, FSR active, and at the lowest settings. And here we are with that. I'm going to disable these two. There we go. So this game is mostly playable on the Steam Deck. It plays around the mid-20s and the mid-30s. So again, it can be playable for some, but others will just hate it. First scene will be in the forest. And this is the most intensive area in the game. And this is where we fell below 30 FPS, I believe. And on the ROG Ally, we are playing at a higher resolution, so it does look sharper. And it will be more intensive on the GPU. So playing at a lower resolution will obviously increase the performance even more. And yeah, sitting in the low 30s, guys, and the mid 30s, should be a lock 30 from here on out. And also, I believe in the city areas, the Steam Deck was stuttering quite a bit. So we'll go over there as well and see how we go. But yeah, so far on the ROG Ally, it is holding 30 just fine, and even the 40s at times. How are we going here? Let's walk outside. Does the game stutter at all? So far pretty good actually. Let's walk around. And FPS wise again, in the mid 30s. Okay, it does stutter occasionally, but it's far more stable, or far more playable versus the Steam Deck. And right here the GPU is falling down into the low 90% usage. So we are being held back by the CPU most likely. So playing at a lower resolution isn't going to impact the performance at all. Now our third game is super intensive. It barely plays or even opens on the Steam Deck. It plays at like 2 or 3 FPS I believe, at most 10. So let's see how the ROG Ally does. Hopefully a stable 30. I believe it can, but let's find out. And for our third game we're playing Avatar Frontiers of Pandora at 720p, low settings, FSR active. No frame gen, here we are with that. There we go. We're gonna bring this down. There we go. And finally in the game, we are sitting in the low 30s and the mid 30s. It's not too bad. It isn't fantastic, obviously. It does fall below 30 at times, but it's definitely far more playable than what you get on the Steam Deck. This game is definitely gorgeous, but you pay for it in terms of your FPS. It is just so hard to run on PC. Shoot these guys. Come on, one more. There we go. Done. Now how do I skin you? I forgot. And for our next game, we're playing the Crew Motorfest at 100p, 30 watts, and at a mix of medium and high settings. There we go. Cool. So this game could be played at 30 FPS for the most part, but during the races, it would fall down below 30, and the game would stutter as well. And that was at the low settings, 720p. So with the Ally, I'm at a high resolution, and at a higher preset, and we are able to get 30 FPS stable. Yep, still holding the mid 30s. That is fantastic. You know, ideally I want to get 40 to 60 FPS in a racing game, but 30 FPS isn't too bad. If you do play for a bit, you'll get used to it, and the game will feel fine. What a good corner that was. That was beautiful by me. Just overshot it completely. And yeah guys, the mid 30s all around. The game does stutter occasionally, but it's far more playable versus the Steam Deck. But I will say, we are being held back by the CPU again, so lowering the resolution here isn't going to impact the performance. Second to last game is Battlefield 2042, and again at 100p, 30 watts, low settings. And here we go with that. There we go. Alright, here we go, Battlefield 2042 guys. We're playing Conquest, and yeah, sitting in the mid 50s and the mid 60s. Now on the Steam Deck, I was playing an indoorish map, and I was getting like 30 to 40 FPS with a lot of stutters and freezes. Was not great. Headshot, let's go. No. That's all AI. Just standing there watching me. That's a player though. I'm kind of going crazy here. Why are they... What's happening here? They're all just showing up. Okay, another one. What's happening here? What? Now, for the case of Battlefield 2042, a bottleneck is mostly the GPU. So playing at a lower resolution will give us an extra FPS bump. And yeah, the main issue with the Steam Deck in this game was the CPU. It just could not keep up. The game would stutter, FPS was down into the 40s at most, and yeah, it wasn't great. Yeah, so on the Ally, it's definitely playable. Again, it does stutter occasionally, but for the most part, it does a great job. And for our last game, it will be Forza Motorsport. And for our settings, again 900p, FSR active, and at a mix of medium and low settings. There we go. And yeah guys, in the race, we're sitting in the mid 40s and the mid 50s. This game isn't well optimized at all. It might get fixed later on, but it's been a couple of months at this point and it feels the same, so I don't have high hopes. And yeah, this game has a very hard time running on the Steam Deck. You gotta play at the low settings, it just falls apart. But on the Ally, hey, it's like 40 to 60 FPS. At the start with all the AI cars, it falls down to the 40s, and once you leave them behind, it goes up into the 50s. And on this track, if you're near the crowd, the FPS does fall as well. So yeah, as you can see, once we leave the crowd behind, the FPS goes up into the 50s again. And on the Ally, this game is GPU bound, so if you go ahead and play at a low resolution, you can see the FPS increase by quite a bit. So yeah, that's pretty much it guys. That is the Ally, playing games that are hard to run on the Steam Deck. It's a mixed bag. Star Wars, for example, has a hard time running on the Ally as well as the Steam Deck, but for Avatar, for example, it does a much better job. Forza, in Alan Wake 2, in all those games, it's much better on the ROG Ally. Now for the future, I think our memory will become the bottleneck for this system. We only have 16 gigs for the GPU as well as the actual system, and that is not going to be enough. So I hope for the next ROG Ally as well as the next Steam Deck, we do get 32 gigs in total, and that would be fantastic. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Next video. See you guys there.